Say I'm back.
And me back.
And Haven's back. This video I'm going to be going over my birth story. I'm going to like break it down. I did a labor vlog, which is a little more like me there and experiencing it, and then this video is going to be me watching that back and kind of like breaking down different parts of the labor. I had a bad epidural experience, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that and where my body is recovering from that today. Let's go. Starting out with the end of my pregnancy. The end of my pregnancy got super awful and terrible. I had so much hip and round ligament pain that I was basically just laying down all day. And my doctor told me that I had a lot of extra fluid in my stomach that was making I carry really low, and all the fluid was just like probably sitting so heavy on my pubic bone, my round ligament, so it was just causing a lot of pain. But I ended up having her 2.5 weeks early, almost 3 weeks early, which I was not expecting at all. So that takes us to the day of November 15th. So it's probably exactly 3:49 or 3:48 a.m. I woke up to peeing my pants, but it was just like gushing out of me, and it was like the weirdest feeling ever. I sat up out of bed, I look over to Jace, and I'm like, I hit Jace, and I'm like, Jace, my water's breaking. And Jace sprints out of bed. He's like up. I'm like sitting for 30 seconds still, like thinking I'm dreaming or something. I remember sitting on the toilet and just like, it just kept leaking out of me, and I was shaking. I FaceTimed my sister so that she could come over and watch Beckham and Haven for me so that we could go to the hospital. Jace called the doctor before to tell my water broke and asked if I should go in. We ended up just going to our regular hospital that we've gone to with Beckham and Haven. So we said goodbye to Beckham, and so his reaction was so cute. He woke up when we were leaving actually, and so I said goodbye to him, and I said, guess where we're going? We're gonna go see your baby. We're gonna meet your baby sister today, and I'm gonna push her out. And he was so excited. Got to the hospital at 4:25 a.m. They admitted me since my water had broken and I'd had maybe 2 contractions on the way. They weren't super painful, just like the tiniest, slightest little contractions. I got my epidural probably within an hour or 2 of getting to the hospital, and it was before I had any contractions, which I wish I would have waited to do. I just thought my labor with Beckham was pretty short. My labor with Haven was half the time it was with Beckham. And so this time around, I'm thinking, okay, my water broke. It's my 3rd baby. They tell you your 3rd baby just like pops out of you. So I was like, get me the epidural before the contractions get too bad. So what happened with the epidural? I've gotten so many questions about the problems that I've had with my epidural, and I'm just gonna dedicate a little section of this to that and then what happened after. So when he was putting the epidural in my back, I was a little bit scared. I'm always really nervous like getting the epidural. It's a really scary thing. They had me sit down like this, and I had my head down to my chest like this. With Beckham and Haven, the anesthesiologist, he was in, he was out within like 5 minutes. Like he was so quick, he was in, out. This time around, I could feel him doing things, moving things around. He was poking, he was moving things around, and I'm like getting really worried. I was numb, but I could feel him moving around. So I was like, okay, I was getting very scared because I was like, okay, it's been like probably 5 minutes of him sitting there like doing stuff. He helps me lay back down, and then he goes, oh, so you're gonna be very, very numb, probably more numb than you've ever been with an epidural, but there is 85% chance that in the next 24 to 48 hours you're gonna have a really bad migraine. And I was like, okay, why? He started explaining to me what he did. So there's like your spine, the vertebrae that they're supposed to go into. So he goes into the vertebrae that he's supposed to, but he pokes through into I'm trying to demonstrate it to you. So he poked the needle in the right vertebrae. He went in too far, poking a hole into, I don't even know what it's called, poking a hole, leaking spinal fluid into my body. And then he goes down a vertebrae, and he goes in at an angle, and he's like, oh, that's the right spot. So he goes back up into the vertebrae he's supposed to go into, and he goes in at an angle and gets the spot, basically. There was 2 holes leaking spinal fluid into my body, or out of the spinal column where it's supposed to stay. The spinal fluid is the same fluid that surrounds your brain, and so when that spinal fluid is leaking out, it causes your brain to sink in your skull, and it gives you a terrible migraine. And the only way to fix that is to do a blood patch, which is another epidural, where they put the epidural in your back, and instead of putting the numbing, they take your blood and they put that in, so it clots up the holes, and it's supposed to help. At 6:15 a.m. the lady came in to do my COVID test. This was more painful than putting the epidural in. The COVID test hurt so bad. I think my nose was bleeding a little bit after. So at 7:10 they checked me, and they said I was at a 5. When I first got into the hospital, I was at a 4. They came back in to check me at 8:34, and they told me I was still at like a 5 or a 5.5. And so they were saying, we can put you on Pitocin, on a low dose of Pitocin to get your contractions going. I told them that I didn't want to go on the Pitocin because I heard it can make your contractions really bad. Is there anything else I can do? So they hooked me up with a peanut ball, and they said for me to just sit sideways like this, but sideways, with it in between my legs, and that's supposed to help, I don't know, open up your birthing canal. So a whole hour later, like an hour and a half later, checked me again, and I was at a 6, so only dilated a 0.5 centimeter. This is when I started getting discouraged, because they just kept telling me, oh, well, once you get to a 6, you're gonna fly. Basically, it can happen at any minute. You can go from a 6 to a 10 in 10 minutes. I was eating my ice chips, which were really gross. They were ice chips with snow cone juice on it, and it was disgusting. I was like, okay, it was making me so sick. At 9:54, I still didn't start the Pitocin. I was like, give me another hour. And then they checked me again at 11:10 a.m. and I was at a 6 still, which was frustrating for me. At 11:10, I had them start me on a low dose of Pitocin. I think they started at a 2, which I don't know what they normally start at. It was 12:15, and I was getting so discouraged because another hour later, with the Pitocin going, I was still at a 6. So I had them up the dose of Pitocin to 4.
I'm trying not to have any expectations, and hopefully
I say in my video I wasn't trying to have any expectations, but I was like going in expecting to have the baby like at 9 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm not gonna have any expectations. I was so discouraged, honestly. Around almost 1 o'clock, I started having super bad contractions. I could feel the contractions and pain happening in my butt, and I kept calling the nurses in, and they kept checking me saying, you're at a 6, you're at a 6, you're at a 6, and I started getting very discouraged. I could tell that I was in active labor because I was like, I can just feel my body. I can feel enough. I had them come at this time probably around 1:30, 1:40 to do another dose of the epidural, where they come in, they take a little syringe of it, they screw it into the thing, and it gives you kind of just one big boost of it, because I was pressing the button and it wasn't really making a huge difference. They gave me that extra dose. I was miserable, and I'm saying here that I could already feel a little bit of a headache coming on from probably that epidural issue that I had. 15 to 20 minutes, they come back and they check me and they tell me that I am at a 10. Oh, this is so exciting to watch back. I must have started pushing around 2:18 p.m. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Oh, this is too much. Okay, and so I'm like so emotional. This is my first time actually like watching it back in a month. A lot of people hate the newborn stage, but like there is something so addicting about labor for me. Not like the pain of it, but like the whole experience of you like being pregnant and pushing out a baby and then putting that baby on your chest is like so empowering to me. I pushed her out after 4 minutes of pushing. I want to have like 20 more babies. Ugh. So it's probably like 3 or 4 contractions that I had. Pushed her out. She like slid out no problem. When she came out, she had the cord wrapped around her neck very loosely, so he just took it off, and Jace cut the cord, and yay. I'm a mess right now. I'm like watching all of it back. It's crazy, guys. I don't even know how to explain labor and the feeling of it. It's like freaking nuts. I think it was within 45 minutes to an hour after she came out, I had started to get the worst back spasm, lower back spasms in my back. Like it was hurting so bad. It felt almost like a contraction, like just a constant dull, excruciating ache in my lower back and butt. And then I had a terrible migraine within an hour after she came out, and my epidural started to wear off. I just started to feel terrible back pain, terrible neck ache. Like, it was awful. So they moved me from the mother's room down to the nursery, they moved me out of the labor and delivery room into the mother's room. So they change you to like a more cozy where you stay the rest of the time with your baby, called the mother's room. I just remember crying so much in the mother's room with that problem with my epidural. With me, the headache would come and go because they said lay on your back. When you lay on your back flat, it doesn't cause your brain to sink in your skull, giving you that terrible migraine. So I was laying on my back most of the time, but I like couldn't move. I couldn't pick up Tommy like at all. I remember just like crying because I couldn't get up to nurse her. I had the worst, like right in between my shoulder blades and like top of my neck or under my neck right here, I was having these spasms. I couldn't look to the side. I would get these terrible back spasms where my whole back would just like seize up, and oh, it was so terrible. I ended up doing the blood patch. There was a better chance of it working if I waited 24 hours. Like the longer you wait, the better chance you get. So I waited 24 hours. I can't go home. I'm not going to be able to nurse my baby. I'm not going to be able to get up to do anything. I was in just excruciating pain and had heat packs on my back, heat packs on my neck, like heat packs on my forehead. It was just awful. Decided to do the blood patch. So the guy came down, he put the IV in my hand here, which freaking hurt like a bitch, but he put it in here, my veins, and got some blood and had me do the same thing because it's the same epidural. It's a big needle, but they just screw in blood instead. He starts putting the blood in and he said, you might feel something as I'm putting the blood in. So as he's putting the blood in, I was getting that sharp, terrible pain in my back again. He got all the blood in and almost immediately my migraine went away, that terrible migraine that I had, and then the back spasms or the neck spasms that I was having went away. Immediately, I was still having a dull ache in my back. It wasn't as bad, but it was like pretty painful and sore because I was like, maybe it's just sore because I just got like 4 epidural needles in my back. I did that within like, I think it was like an hour and a half before I went home, because they say once you get the blood patch done, you have to lay flat on your back so that the blood can settle and clot where it needs to. When you go home, you're not supposed to be super active or doing a lot of like lifting or anything. So I went home, had a pretty painful dull ache in my back still. Even in Beckham, I couldn't have them jump on me or anything. I had to keep them off of me. 2 days after I got home, I started getting, once again, terrible migraine anytime I was up. I couldn't like any light. I just had to like squint my eyes, or I was just like laying in bed. I got the neck spasms again, the back spasms again, probably a day after my milk came in or the same day that my milk came in. So it was terrible. I couldn't, like, I was having to pump laying down sideways, which was pretty hard to like get in a position to do that. And so I just remember crying a ton after, because it was like so frustrating to me and it was so hard to me and I was in a lot of pain. So then I dealt with that again for probably 2 or 3 more days, and then it went away completely. I still kind of have a sore spot in my back. Like if I'm sitting like this for a while, I would have a sore spot. But I just remember right around Christmas, so a month after I had Tommy, I was still having just like that dull kind of ache in my back, like that sore spot. I had so many friends that were like sending me money to DoorDash. All my family was like asking if we wanted dinner because I just couldn't get up to eat. I couldn't get up to nurse my baby. So it was so nice having such a great support system around us at the time. And Jace, obviously, for taking Tommy, and he would have to like hold her up to my boob to eat because I couldn't move. But we are out of that part. Everyone's been asking if I'm quitting YouTube. I'm not quitting YouTube, guys. I was just taking a break. Things got a little crazy for a while with 3 kids. So I was taking a little bit of a break, but I'm back. I'm ready to do 1 to 2 videos a week for you guys. Fingers crossed, maybe. Don't hold me to that. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry it's been so long. See you later.